Hi and welcome to You've Been Coached. I'm Jack Betakelian, and on the call is my esteemed colleague Jara M. Rios from Axios Life Coaching. Thank you for joining us in our second topic, which is called Setting the Bar, which is part of our four-part series being Vices, Creating Awareness to Break Habits. Today's topic is about setting the bar. So I'd like to talk about, and I'm sure Jara has some opinion here as well, I'd like to talk about making the distinction between setting the bar and raising the bar. When it comes to goals, or it comes to something that we want to accomplish in life, by default, we set the bar. And the bar is meant for us to gauge where we are with regards to an expectation that we have. Sometimes the bar is actually questioned, or it's actually reviewed and changed, and this is commonly a problem for most people. So I just want to take a moment and talk about what setting the bar should be viewed as or interpreted as. When it comes to goal setting, for example, and I'll use an example, if we talk about losing weight, we set a bar. We talk about, I expect or I would like to lose, for example, 10 pounds within the next 3 weeks. Maybe unrealistic, but everybody has their own way of training or changing their diets. We're not here to judge. If you can get 10 pounds done in 3 weeks, then all the better for you. Please let me know how you did it so I can lose my 10 pounds. But what's important here when it comes to setting that bar is, as time goes on and you start along your journey to achieve a goal that you've set for yourself, it's important to always be aware of the bar that you initially set, as opposed to viewing and reviewing, and this is a very common occurrence, which again causes confusion, frustration in many people. It's that the initial goal was to lose 10 pounds, and after week 1, we see that, or you may have noticed that you've lost 2 or 3. And now, as opposed to saying, well, I'm 20% or 30% achieved in my overall goal, you end up saying, well, I've lost 2 or 3, let's go for 15. Now, there's a distinction there, and I find that it's very important to talk about that, because you don't want, or you need to be aware of what you're doing at that point. You are now changing your goal, and you're no longer setting the bar. You've actually raised the bar. It may be unrealistic, or it may be bringing unwanted stress. What do you think, Jara, about what I just mentioned?
I think that when it comes to losing weight, or when it comes to setting the bar, raising the bar, I agree with what you say in terms of, changing the goal mid-journey. It will cause you to over expand yourself. I think that one of the important things when you set a goal is to look at yourself, to go back to your behaviors and to what you are comfortable with. It's not about not setting it's about setting a realistic goal, and to be able to stretch yourself at a pace that you can remain true to yourself. Because if you keep raising the bar mid-journey, you're gonna get exhausted. It's as I'm sorry, it's as if you say, New Year's resolution, I'm gonna lose 50 pounds. And you start with that huge goal of losing 50 pounds, which can be achieved, right? But it's better to just set yourself a lower bar. I'm going to lose my first 5 pounds. And after you lose your first 5 pounds, monitor yourself, negotiate with yourself, and negotiate your next goal. I think it's about, negotiating with yourself in terms of where the bar is and what need you're going to meet in each, when you reach every step of your goal. What do you think about that, Jack?
Yeah, I agree, and I like how, and I hope that those who have already seen our first episode see how this ties into the previous topic, which is expectations. So setting the bar and the expectations regarding a goal, and how you need to be realistic, as you mentioned, as far as what you can do, and more importantly, like you mentioned, for example, again, when we spoke about the losing of weight, sure, the ultimate goal may be to lose those 50 pounds, but the realistic goal, or the reality based on understanding yourself and the expectations of yourself, could be to actually break it down, as you just mentioned. Sorry, I think you wanted to say something?
I do. How about if we change the word realistic to to a more, when it comes to losing weight, to a more compassionate goal, to a more loving yourself goal. Not that losing 50 pounds is not loving yourself, but just be a little bit more, how do you say, less, I know I cannot expect you to know what I'm going to say, but be a little more soft with yourself in terms of
or maybe fair,
fair, fair, or and also not put a lot of weight in over your shoulders. It's easier to carry 5 pounds than to carry 50 pounds. If you look at it as something that you're putting, over yourself, that you're carrying. It's easier to carry less load than to carry a huge load. So if you see yourself as carrying a plate, right? There are so many things that you can accommodate in one single plate. So it's better if you put small things on the plate and get rid of them little by little than if you put, if you try to overload the plate.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree, only because you're using a plate as an example, and everybody who's watching me or watching this video cannot see what is below my neck. But if I have a plate, it's going to overflow. But I definitely do agree, and I like, I appreciate the correlation between setting a bar and ensuring or being aware about really how much you're putting on yourself. I think it's really important, as you said, goal setting is something that we always do. We do it on a daily basis, and certain goals can be broken down, as opposed to, as you mentioned, seeing the overall goal. It's fine to have an overall goal. I think, as you mentioned, if you break it down into milestones or phases to achieve a goal, it allows you to have to be more focused and to not necessarily you are not losing sight of the ultimate goal, but you're actually taking the proper measures to ensure that you're focused every step of the way. So a really great point, Jara. Thanks for sharing that. And for the record, if you were to put on 50 pounds, I would still love you.
Oh, thank you. I would still love you too.
But it depends on how you did it, because if you were beside me and taking food off my plate, then we'd have a problem. But that's that's another thing. So there's another thing that when it comes to setting the bar that I've noticed, and I'm sure I'd like to share this from my own personal experience. It's with relation to what we accomplish in life. Again, as you know, I mentioned, we set the bar, and the bar is, as I view it, it's a way to gauge where you are. It's a way to validate or ensure that you've achieved something. Sometimes what happens, and this is, I find this to be very important, because we need to understand our own limitations, and ultimately we don't have necessary limitations, but I think the word limitation should be changed to our own comfort level. It has to do with, once you've actually achieved a goal, we often try to push ourselves. And pushing ourselves, depending on what the scenario is. For example, I'm going to use comedians, for example. Many comedians suffer with depression. I don't know if people are aware of this or not, but many comedians, more often than not, suffer with depression because their goal, or they've set a bar, and every time they go out and they perform, they expect to have the audience laughing. Once they've actually achieved that, as opposed to saying, this is something that I am good at, I'm comfortable at, I've achieved, and I can do over and over, and I accept, or I'm happy with the results, they end up putting themselves in a situation where they're now looking for, what is the next big thing? How can I surpass that? How can I find new ways to make the audience laugh? And they end up falling in, and I'm using comedians as an example, because I'm that, for those who are listening and who actually know me, they know I'm the clown. I'm the person who is always joking and always going out of his way to make sure that people around him are having a good time and so on. But believe it or not, there are some times when I feel pressure. I put unwanted pressure on myself, and this comes to what you were mentioning, which is the weight on your shoulders. I feel pressure to find a way to do something more, when in reality, what I do is enough. So again, it's a bit of a distinction between setting the bar and raising the bar. I don't know if that made sense to you, Jara, or if you want to chime in there. But it can apply to career. Doing a job that you already have experience in, and you do well, is one thing. But if you raise the bar and you expect, for example, you've submitted, or you had a presentation in front of management, and the presentation went fantastic, you've achieved your goal. But then if you try to raise your bar, or if you feel as though you need to raise the bar at that level, then you sometimes end up bringing on an unwanted stress, or that weight on your shoulder where, okay, I have to present again, but now I have to find a different way to do it, or it has to be even better. when it was already good to begin with. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think that I want to continue what you're saying, and I also want to take it to another side. But to continue what you're saying, I think that it would be useful for, in any circumstance, to have kind of a wish list of the things that you would like to happen in a certain situation, right? Or how would you want uh, to execute something, how you are going to be in a certain situation. Because as we talked last time, the only thing that you can control is yourself. You cannot control other stuff. So I think that having that kind of list will help you measure yourself after the fact. If you are that person that thinks that, everything that you have to push all the time, that you have to push farther and farther and farther and farther, and continue raising that bar, so that you will ultimately feel like a failure. Because if you are all the time putting that bar higher and higher and higher, what's going to happen is that you're never going to reach that bar. But if you have a list, or you don't have to have the list, but an idea of a clarity about your purpose in what you're going to execute, there are things that you can certainly overlook. What are the things that can be overlooked in the reaching of a certain goal? And that will help you to be more, what was the word that we used before? That to be compassionate with yourself,
or fair.
And fair to yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that is important. But I think that what we're talking here right now is to those people that are overachievers, or that want to be overachievers. And when we are talking about, be good to yourself, just trim the bar just closer to you, so you don't have to be reaching and unable to reach it. But I also think that it is very important what you said a little bit ago, about not losing your sight of the goal, because you cannot. You have to focus on that goal. You cannot lose that the ultimate goal is what you want to achieve, and that is very important to keep on track, because you don't want to fall into being too lenient with yourself, right? You don't want to not raise the bar at another level. Because one of the things that I believe is that you should raise the bar, but you should raise the bar as you go, as you reach the bar, and then you can raise it a little bit, or move toward that ultimate goal.
Absolutely.
Toward that huge goal. And when you get to that goal, it's not about raising it higher and higher and higher. It's also not about being complacent, or to just, I've done enough. I won't do anything else. I get the idea of perfection, but I think that we also have to be wise in terms of where we are going next. So I think that there is also wisdom in that, trying to raise the bar. I don't know if I made sense.
No, no, I definitely agree. I mean, ultimately, I do agree. And I think that the key points here are, and you mentioned them both, it's that your focus should be on your primary goal. Once you've achieved your goal, it's okay to want to raise the bar. But as you mentioned, the important thing about raising the bar is ensuring that you're fair with yourself, making sure that raising the bar doesn't put you in a position where you are actually overreaching or extending yourself. Um, and I honestly, or I agree with, many people are visual, so it may help some people to take a piece of paper and say, okay, for example, I've got a presentation to do, or I've got a task to complete, I've got a goal, and highlight certain things where they can check them off, type of thing. That says, for example, yes, I've set the bar, and I do have an expectation as far as a goal that I've just set. If it helps them to ensure that they don't lose sight and don't fall into this trap of reviewing and raising the bar in during the process, then maybe it's a good idea. Have that piece of paper and say, okay, I've got certain things that I'm going to achieve, and if you feel that you're actually, I don't want to say losing your way, but if you feel like there's that tendency to change your goal, then maybe you can come back to that note or that piece of paper or your to-do list or whatever it is and say, okay, I'm still accomplishing what I need to do. Let's make sure I check off every item before I raise that bar. So no, I love that point there, and as you said, I mean the importance really is about ensuring fairness and not putting yourself at risk by overreaching. We all are able to achieve goals that are realistic and fair to ourselves. So thanks for bringing that up. You actually gave me a little aha moment. So never let it be said that coaches can't help coaches.
Well, I'm glad I was able to give you an aha moment. Can you please, you have given me a lot of aha moments to myself as well.
Well, and I hope that these videos and these videos and obviously the videos that we have individually also serve them well. So obviously, it's a plug here, but above and beyond the You've Been Coached, we both have our own YouTube channels where we post videos on a daily basis. And the goal is to give all of our audience the opportunity to view and resonate with some of the topics we're talking about. If we can reach one person or help them with finding some type of clarity or an unblockage, or just give them an opportunity to view things differently, I think that, again, we're accomplishing our goal. And we're not setting the bar higher yet, but for those who are interested, and for those who are actually finding these videos useful, then reach out to either myself or Jara via our Facebook pages, message us. We're more than happy.
Comment on the videos.
Comment on the videos or send us questions, because we like to answer your videos, your questions, not your videos. If you have a video that you want us to answer, well, send us your link as well. But we like to answer your question, and if it's a personal question, obviously we'll answer it one-on-one. But if it's something that you are comfortable with us answering in a future video, then feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I agree. Are we just just to go back and add something else? I think that I like the word honor yourself. You know, honor yourself. So when you're trying to overreach, you just have to go back and tune in with yourself to see what is that you are in what place you're not honoring yourself, in what place you are overreaching and overstepping your own boundaries. So that will help you calibrate that bar that you're trying to meet, or the standards that you're trying to meet.
Yeah, and many times, a great point. I mean, it's about your instinct, it's about your gut, it's about listening to yourself, your mind, your body. And I know we're going to have topics like this down the line as well, but absolutely. I mean, we sometimes, or there's potential for us to ignore, and more often than not, a lot of people do ignore their minds and their bodies when they are going to make a decision, or there's something that they want to accomplish, and your mind is telling you no, or you're not quite certain. So, as you mentioned, honor that, respect, and listen to yourself, because ultimately, if you have your own conflict, then you are already off on the wrong foot. So,
Yep.
yeah, great point, Jara. So is there anything, any other point that you wanted to add, or is there anything that you thought that we'd like to finish up on, Jara?
No, I think that in setting the bar, the most important things I think that we've talked about, and we've said it and we've summarized it. So, I think that what is left is just telling people, that telling our audience to keep joining us, and to join us next Friday for our next topic, which is gonna be
Limiting beliefs.
limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. Um, those sharks that that haunt us in the middle of the water.
Exactly.
Our limiting beliefs, and yeah, just to if you want to be coached by one of us, just reach out to us. Send your comments, your questions, your concerns, your likes, your dislikes, and
But you're not allowed to dislike me.
no, nor me, just the
Okay.
videos.
Okay.
No, because we are lovable people.
That's it. That's right. And we love ourselves, so that's the most important thing.
Yep, yep. That's the
Okay.
most important thing.
So yeah, like you mentioned, next week, to tune in next week, we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs and tie them into our previous topics. So you'll be able to see how expectations, setting the bar, and limiting beliefs can all tie into each other. And we'll of course, we have a fourth episode that'll be coming up. But if you're tuning into each one, you'll see how each of these topics do tie into each other, and they'll be putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So again, I hope that our conversations are resonating with you, and we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us both on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channels, reach out to us, questions, comments, and the most important part of every time that we have this video is when Jarrett takes it away.
You've been coached.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.